guys, Scare9 here, welcome back to my channel today, and after like 7 months, we are back to continue the Ranking Exotics series to rank all 50 exotic weapons currently in Destiny 2. It has been a very long time, a lot of stuff has been added and changed, so we are here to update the list. Now, before we start, I do just want to shout out one of my amazing subscribers, Little Ziggy T, recently purchased my t-shirt. Thank you so much, man, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the video though. So, as always, a couple ground rules to lay down. There are 50 exotics. I don't want this to be an hour-long video. So, if an exotic has been in the game for like a year, I'm kind of going to skim over it. I'm going to give it a ranking, but you guys should know the exotic perks by now of at least those weapons. I'll explain the new exotic perks, especially the weapons that have just been added into the game with Joker's Wild, but all the old ones kind of just moving it along so it's not an hour long. Once again, these videos are always my opinions. They are not meant to be taken as fact. This is meant to start a discussion to give our collective feedback to Bungie. So if you disagree with anything I say, let me know why down in the comment section below. Let's discuss it. That is the whole entire point of these videos. Please and thank you. These exotics are going to be ranked with their catalysts in mind. I have pretty much every catalyst in the game, and it is also going to apply to every arena of Destiny. Every time there's someone saying like, this list is more PvP based or PvE based. No, stop that. Bad. This takes into account every single aspect of Destiny. Raids, Gambit, everything. So that's how I rank these. And if an exotic isn't on the list, it doesn't exist yet. Every time we have people saying, you forgot this and this. No, it is the 18th of April, 2019. If something is not on this list, it just flat out doesn't exist, okay? It has not come out yet. Penumbra has not been launched. We haven't seen what year 3 is going to be for Destiny 2. So just, if it's not on the list, I didn't forget it. It just doesn't exist. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So, the first exotic, the very worst, number 50, the worst of the worst, the Skybrenner's Oath. I get hated on this for like every time. It's just bad. It's just been bad for a year. They changed it a while back, and it was all right for a bit, but it's just not good. The exotic perk isn't great. It's not a great archetype. It has a very slow time to kill. It just needs a rework in general. I think the entire thing just needs to be changed, and yeah, it's the worst in the game. Next, in the number 49 slot, we have the Worldline Zero. This one also still needs a lot of work. I've loved it for a long time. It's got a very cool exotic perk. It's kind of useful in Crucible, but in PvE, it sucks. It needs utility. Swords need to be better in, you know, PvE-based arenas of Destiny. Plain and simple, it's coming in at the number 49 slot. Now in the number 48 slot, we have the Sweet Business, an absolute classic in the Destiny 2 game. I've talked about this one a lot in the past. It's fluctuated from the bottoms to upper mids of my different lists. It's kind of all over the place. The catalyst isn't very good for it. It's very unique. I love it. It definitely feels very Titany. It's a very cool weapon in concept. I just feel like it just needs a little bit of more damage just to make it a little bit more effective and be higher on the list. Next, in the 47th slot, we have the Cerberus +1. It's a lot of fun. It's just not very effective. I think the most annoying thing about this weapon is how inconsistent it is. You are essentially playing RNG with the bullets, where they land, if you're going to hit them, all that sort of thing. And just because of that, it's not very reliable. If I'm going into a top tier activity or Crucible, I want something I know can slay out every time. Not something that has a decent time to kill if you can land like 3 shots that go across the universe from each other, right? So it's got a cool kind of concept behind it, but it needs a little bit of work just to make it a little bit more accurate and a little bit more viable. Now in the 46th slot, we have the Two-Tailed Fox Exotic Rocket Launcher. I have no idea why you would ever use this over a legendary rocket. I get it, it shoots 2 rockets instead of 1. A lot of people really like that concept and that idea, but it does less damage than a Wardcliff or even just like a regular Bad Omens with cluster bombs. Or ever since the 2.0 buff, where rockets don't need cluster bombs anymore, a regular rocket can outdamage this thing. So I'm not really sure why you would use the Two-Tailed Fox. It's cool in Crucible whenever you pull things off with it, but it's kind of difficult to do a lot of the time. So it's a very cool weapon, but it just needs to be more appealing in my opinion. Now in the number 45 slot, we have the Cold Heart Exotic Trace Rifle. This thing used to be so much more. It was one of the best exotics in the game, but ever since primaries have been buffed up a lot and, you know, the secondary changes as well, there's not really any reason to use the Cold Heart. Why use this in raids when you can use a sniper or a shotgun or literally anything else? It's not worth the exotic slot. It needs a lot more of like incentive to make me use it. And yeah, it's coming in the number 45 slot. In the next slot, we have its companion piece, the Prometheus Lens. These same exact things. It used to be really fun. You get infinite ammo with this one, which is why it's a little bit higher up on the list. It looks really cool, but once again, it's not as effective as a lot of things. These things have decent time to kills in the Crucible, but it's nowhere near as good as Luna's, which nothing is, I guess, but it's not as good as something like literally anything else, right? It's kind of average at everything in PvE, in PvP, in Gambit. They have a couple things going for them, but in general, they're just kind of, they're not exotic, right? They're just kind of upper tier to middle tier legendaries at very best. So that's why it is going in the number 44 slot. Now in the number 43 slot, we have the Jade Rabbit. Historically, what I've put at the bottom of the list every single time. I think for the last 2, if not the last 3 ranking videos, it has been last or like in the bottom 5. This thing, once again, why would you use it over a legendary scout rifle? There's really no reason to. They buffed this archetype of scout rifles recently, making it a little bit better, especially in these longer range Crucible maps that we've been getting, like Equinox. But once again, why? Why would I use this over anything else? There are a lot of really good legendary scout rifles in the game, one of them being a pinnacle weapon. Why would I use this thing over it? So it's a lot better than it used to be, but once again, it needs to be buffed in order to incentivize us, the players, to use it a little bit more. The next weapon on the list at the number 42 position is going to be the Hardlight. This one is another kind of just super average exotic. It has a ton of utility, especially with shields working how they do in Destiny 2. It just got a catalyst. Arguably the least useful of the 4 new catalysts we got, in my opinion. Stability is really nice, but whenever you the screen shake is too much. The catalyst should have gotten rid of that. It would be way higher if I didn't feel like I was having a seizure every time I used the weapon. It's got a lot of utility, but it's not as effective as I feel like it should be, and it's just annoying to use. So I'm ranking it here on the list. The next thing that we are going to be putting in the 41st slot is going to be the Polaris Lance. You have infinite ammo once again. Scout rifles just got buffed, but it's an archetype that isn't that great at DPS in terms of how much damage you can put out over a short amount of time. That's what DPS means. Whatever. It's also a lot more competitive now in the Crucible, which, bumps its ranking up a little bit, but kind of the same question I posed with the Jade Rabbit comes to mind. Why would I use this thing when there are so many great legendary scout rifles within the game? It doesn't really make sense. It's got a lot of utility. The lore behind it is amazing. It looks fantastic. It's got a pretty cool exotic perk, but I just feel like it needs a little bit more incentive. So here it is at the number 41 slot. Now we have reached the 40th slot, which is going to contain the Trinity Ghoul exotic bow. Essentially just an electric version of the Sunshot. It's pretty cool. It's very effective in strikes where there's a lot of enemies grouped up together. But past that, you can't really use it for anything. It doesn't have a ton of DPS in terms of boss damage. It's not really end game material. I don't ever see anyone taking this thing into raids. It's all right in Gambit, I guess. But bows are kind of in a position right now where legendary bows hit pretty much just as hard as most exotics. We'll return to that in a bit. And, there's no really reason, in my opinion, to use the Trinity Ghoul. So it is going in the number 40 slot. The next one in this video is going to be the Sunshot. I love explosions, but once again, the same thing with the Trinity Ghoul. What does the Sunshot offer that a regular hand cannon doesn't? And that is a very, very common reoccurring theme that you'll see on this half of the list. Not even half, like the first 15 exotics. We're going to get into some very crazy ones here soon, but there's literally no reason to ever use this gun. The catalyst was all right. It improved its performance in the Crucible, but now you have Lunas that goes in the exact same slot. So that kind of made it irrelevant. In PvE, you have all of these amazing weapons that just have Dragonfly. You have the new Pinnacle Scout Rifle, which has a boosted up version of Dragonfly. Why do you need to use the Sunshot? You really don't. It needs a small buff, and I think it will be a lot better. At the number 38 slot, we have the Sturm. Very cool, but in order to really utilize it to its full potential, you need to be using 2 slots using primary weapons, which in this meta is not a good idea. So Sturm's coming in down here. It's fun, effective, unique, but it's just not exotic, And yeah, coming in the number 38 slot. In the number 37 slot, we have the Black Talon exotic sword. This is by far the most exotic feeling sword in Destiny 2. It's very cool. It's very good in Crucible, pretty much 2 or 3 guaranteed kills every time. I love the fact that you get ammo back after you get some kills. It's very good. However, they just need to be more effective in PvE. I've said this time and time again, swords in Destiny 2 are not swords in Destiny 1. Swords in Destiny 1, for the Wrath of the Machine raid, 2 out of 3 swords were the best weapons to use for their respective encounters, and that's the way it should be. And then maybe, you know, maybe they shouldn't be the best of the best of the best, but they need to be usable. I shouldn't just feel inclined to never use a sword in a raid, right? Like, every type of weapon should be viable at some point in time. Swords don't have that. So I feel like in Destiny 2, they need to be buffed, and Black Talon got hit by that, just unfortunately. But it does feel like a lot of fun in the Crucible. Now in the number 36 slot, we have an exotic that was the king of Gambit, or the queen of Gambit. You'll see in a second. But it had a hard fall from grace when they fixed its aim assist, the Queen Breakers. Man, this thing was so much fun. It was essentially a guaranteed 4-kill invasion every single time if you had the ammo. You could shoot someone's toe and you would get a headshot. But after the nerf, I honestly feel like you could shoot someone in the head and hit them in the toe. Like, it almost has like anti-aim assist now. It's a little bit aggravating, but, you know, I'd rather it be in this state than everyone running around getting the easiest kills they've ever gotten in their lives. I just feel like it needs to have like a happy medium somewhere in there. But, you know, it's coming in at the number 36 position. In the number 35 position, we have the Wish Ender Bow. This used to be ranked a lot higher, but the addition of exotics we're going to talk about in a bit, and the Vow legendary bow, as well as some of the other legendary bows getting slight buffs, really make the Wish Ender more obsolete. Like, it's really cool being able to see through walls. It would be really, really cool to be able to see through walls if we didn't have radar in competitive like that used to be the case. But now that we have radars and everyone is rushing you with shotguns and short-range hand cannons, the Wish Ender doesn't really stack up like it used to. So it's still very cool, it's still very novel, but it's not as effective as a lot of the exotics we're going to be talking about. Now in the number 34 slot, we have the Darcy. It does an insane amount of damage, but why? You know, like, there's other exotics that take up the exact same slot that do even more damage. There's better exotic sniper rifles. It's very cool. It's very unique. I love the idea behind the weapon, you know, really rewarding the player for hitting those consistent critical hits. That's an amazing idea for a sniper. It just doesn't do it well enough, I think. It puts out a ton of damage, but not anything compared to some of these other exotics that we're going to be talking about. Now in the number 33 slot, we have the Borealis, probably my favorite weapon for soloing content. You know, it's very, very useful with being able to change your elements on the fly. It doesn't have the annoying screen shake like Hardlight. It's effective at a lot more ranges than the Hardlight. But once again, it's a sniper. A lot of snipers do these sorts of things. It doesn't do as much damage as a lot of other snipers. I know there's those exploits where you can, like, use the Hunter Dodge ability to pretty much get max damage forever and that sort of thing. You know, it could be better. I like the Borealis, but it's coming in the number 34 slot. Now in the number 32 slot, we have the Anarchy. This is our first brand new exotic on this list. Arc Traps is its main exotic perk, and this makes it so it shoots grenades that stick to surfaces and chain arc bolts to other mines. So essentially, you make a picture with these mines, they shoot electricity between them, and you damage enemies over time. Now, statistically, this thing should be a monster. It has some of the highest DPS when combined with things like shotguns and that sort of thing. However, it's just not fun to use, which is why I think a lot of builds and players steer away from it. While it's theoretically really, really, really good, it's just annoying to use. You know, when I'm playing, I don't want to go out of my way to just do these crazy pictures on the walls, and it's just a little bit annoying, you know? I really like the idea behind it, but sometimes it straight up just doesn't work, and when it does work, it is very, very, very nice, but you have to work for it, which is just a little bit more than a lot of these exotics that we'll get to later, where you just point click and it does insane amounts of damage. So, yep, Anarchy in the number 32 slot. Now in the number 31 slot, we have the Vigilance Wing. It's amazingly fun, it's very effective, its catalyst is amazing, it's very good in Crucible. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's very, very good. It's definitely, like, this is the point where we're getting into exotics that are pretty much all good. From this point on, they're all good. So, yep, 31 slot, Vigilance Wing. Then in the 30th slot, we have the Graviton Lance, the same thing. Very fun to use, very effective, a better exotic perk than the Vigilance Wing, an amazing catalyst, but why would I use this thing other than like an inaugural address or a Ratrix's Claymore or something like that? The Graviton Lance will always have a place in my heart. It's a very, very fun exotic to use, and yeah, coming in number 30 slot. The next exotic on this list is going to be the Merciless. It's very, very good. It is incredibly good. It does amazing damage. There's been videos showing off its one-hit potential, or I guess one-phase potential against things like Riven. A lot of endgame content can be soloed with Merciless. It's very good. It is undeniable to say that it is. It doesn't really have a place in the Crucible, though, which hurts it a little bit because it only is viable in like 1 or 2 arenas of Destiny. But is it worth the trade-off of taking up your exotic slot? So, Merciless coming in the 29 slot, because I really don't think it is. I think there are a lot of other exotics and weapons that go in the slot that are, you know, just a little bit better, and we'll talk about those. Now in the number 28th slot, we have the Fighting Lion. This always surprises me. I think I've said this like the last 3 lists. I always have so much fun getting footage for this weapon, and then after I'm done, I always just put it to the side for some reason. I really wish I would stop that. It's very, very good for getting the mountaintop. It's very fun to just kind of run around and troll people with in the Crucible, especially with this kind of Luna's Howl meta that we have going where people are constantly laning. Grenade launchers like this are very good for counteracting that, and you get essentially infinite ammo with the Fighting Lion, which makes it just so good. So it's going here in the 28th slot. Now in the 27th slot, we have the Risk Runner. It's incredibly effective in a lot of activities. I can't even like... The amount of times where I'm doing something on stream and people are just spamming, use the Risk Runner, use the Risk Runner, it always takes me by surprise, because this is one of those exotics that I think is really easy to forget, but it shouldn't be, right? It is definitely one of the most underrated exotics, and I think that's a bad thing. And I don't think it gets enough attention, so it is going in the number 27th slot. Now in the number 26th slot, we have the Malfeasance. Cool lore, very, very fun quest. Very, very cool way of earning the quest, killing the meatball and that sort of thing, but it gets completely overshadowed by Thorn. Like, it's like the Walgreens version of Thorn, right? Like, why would you use the Malfeasance? I know a lot of people still do. I don't really get it, you know? It's cool, it's fun, it's decently effective, I guess, versus taking enemies, but it's not really worth using in raids, in my opinion. It's not really worth using in Crucible, in my opinion. And other than being just a novelty weapon and a fundamental part of the Drifter lore, I don't really think it's that useful. And I hope it does get buffed, because I really want to love this weapon. It looks amazing, it sounds amazing, it feels amazing, it just needs a little bit more oomph, you know? So it's going in the 26th slot. Now in the number 25 slot, we have the only PlayStation exclusive exotic as of right now. I want to give a huge thank you to Pyro Gaming and CBGray. They sent me over some footage because I play on Xbox. You know, I'm glad creators can come together and help each other out. So I'll have links down to their channels in the description down below. They're both hitting huge milestones, or they both did just hit huge milestones, rather. Go support them, you know, check out their channels. And thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate the footage. So, the Wavesplitter. It got pretty heavily hit by nerfs a while back, but it's still definitely the best out of the 3 trace rifles, in my opinion. It's incredibly competitive in Crucible, from what I understand, at least. It seems to be pretty good in PvE as well. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still very good. I can't wait to use it. It has one of the most unique exotic perks in the game. I love the way where it's variable, you know? It has predictable variability, which is very cool. I like exotics like that. And I can't wait to use this thing. So once again, thank you CBGray and Pyro Gaming. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, that was the Wavesplitter. Now in the number 24 slot, we have the Rat King. It's so much fun, especially with the Catalyst. Being able to get a kill, go invisible, and get full health, move on to the next guy, kill him, and he has no idea, drop him instantly, and, you know, turn invisible again and go on streaks like that. It is incredible. It just feels so good. This thing has come such a long way, and that's just using it solo. I don't even want to think about what using this as a part of a 6-man team would be like in Crucible. It would be disgusting. It would be a massacre, and it'd be a lot of fun. I love the Rat King. It has an amazing exotic perk. It has one of the best catalysts in the game. It's very fun, and yeah, it's going in the number 24 slot. Now in the number 23 slot, we have the Suros Regime. Once again, just got a catalyst. It's very good. It makes it heal more often, and it gets a huge buff to stability, but it doesn't really offer much more than regular legendaries, in my opinion. You know, it's a very solid auto rifle, but there are a ton of very solid auto rifle options in the game. So while it's cool, while it gives you healing more consistently, I'm going to have to rank it a little bit lower just because of that reason. But it's a lot of fun to use. So if you're ever looking just dick around in the Crucible, pick this thing up, use it. It's quite fun. The next one on the list, the number 22 slot, is going to go to the Crimson. Pretty much for the same reason, except you get not only infinite health with the Crimson, you get infinite ammo as well, and it feels very good, but it's overshadowed by a lot of legendary and other exotic hand cannons. So the Crimson is amazing. I wish they would have kept it in pulse rifle form, especially now that we have like 500 exotic hand cannons. The Red Death needs to return. Please, Bungie, get rid of the Crimson. Give us the Red Death, please. And thank you. But it's going to be ranking in the number 22 slot. Now in the 21st slot, we have the Huckleberry, pretty much the Risk Runner, but on steroids, especially with its catalyst. So the catalyst makes it so whenever you get a kill, it reloads all the ammo in the magazine, not just a portion. You never have to reload with this thing. It's amazing in Crucible. It's amazing in pretty much every PvE environment that I can think of. It's very, very, very good, and it is so incredibly fun. And yeah, Huckleberry in the 21st slot. Now, in the 20th slot, we have the Colony. It's fun, but it's not as good as it used to be. It used to be like a guaranteed 2 to 3 kills in the Crucible every time you picked up ammo. However, now people are starting to get a lot smarter. They realize whenever you hear that, jump away from walls. Just jump up and away from walls. You're fine. You'll survive almost every single time. So, it's good. It's very good for getting things like the mountaintop and that sort of thing, but it has fallen quite a bit since the last list. The next weapon on this list has also fallen quite a bit, and that is going to be the Telesto Exotic Fusion Rifle. Even when nerfed, this thing is amazing, and I think the best thing about this gun is that it is this far on the list. If you guys remember last time, I mentioned having nightmares about the Telesto. That doesn't happen anymore, you know? You can load into comp and you don't hear doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. It's nice, right? It's very, very nice. You see it now and then. More so in PvE, it's very effective there, but not as much in Crucible anymore. It's still a very solid option. It's just not overbearing anymore, which is definitely a welcome change. And yeah, Telesto is coming in the number 19 slot. Now in the number 18 slot, we have the Mida Multi-Tool coming up just so many ranks. I think it jumped like 20 or 30 here. The Mida, with this recent buff, it's back, baby. You know, it's not like vanilla Destiny 2 levels, but it's incredible again. It's very easy to go on streaks. You feel like a madman running around this thing because it makes you go so fast. It's very, very, very easy to use. It makes people stagger just enough to make like Luna's Howl kind of ineffective against you. It's a nice counter to those types of things. Probably my number one most underrated exotic in the game. If I had to like look at the community as a whole, I don't think the Mida gets enough attention. It's very, very good. Give it a try. And it's coming in the number 18 slot. Now in the number 17 slot, we have the Chaperone. It's incredibly fun, stupidly effective, and it's annoying. It's annoying. If you have a Night Stalker on the enemy team running around, getting that flawless executioner on you, you know, sliding, getting that headshot, he's unstoppable from that point on. He's invisible. He has a deadly weapon that can snipe people from 400 meters away, get headshots, keep getting that perk going. It's kind of disgusting, but it's a lot of fun. It's incredibly effective, and there's a reason why every blueberry and their mom is running around with this in Crucible right now. It's because it's just good, you know? It's just really damn good. So it's coming in the number 17 slot. Now in the number 16 slot, we have another brand new exotic coming in from the Black Armory DLC. This is going to be the Izanagi's Burden. Its perk is called Honed Edge. Holding reload consumes the magazine and loads a round with additional range and damage. So this is definitely one of the best exotic snipers in the game. The best thing about it is that it goes in your kinetic slot, so you essentially have unlimited ammo for it. Like you'll always have ammo for this, and it does incredible amounts of damage. It is one of the highest DPS values in the entire game. It might be top 10, it might be top 15, but I think it's top 10 in terms of like a single weapon. It is crazy. It can one-shot body shot supers in Crucible. It's very easy to use. Like even if you're not utilizing the perk, it's just a fantastic sniper in general in Crucible. It feels very sticky. It's very easy to get kills with. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's coming in the number 16 slot. Now in the number 15 slot, we have the newest exotic in the Destiny franchise, the Arbalest. Just came out a couple days ago. Its exotic perk is called Compounding Force. It fires a slug that causes massive damage to elemental shields of enemy combatants. So it's definitely more of a PvP weapon than a PvE gun. It's still decent in PvE, but this thing is what the Queen Breakers was in Crucible, and you get way more ammo for it, right? Like, because it takes special ammo. You will never run out of ammo for this thing in Gambit, so whenever you invade, use this thing. It's kind of gross. It does a ton of damage in Crucible. There are builds to make it one shot, like if you're on certain Titan. I don't want to give you guys any hits because I don't like getting one shot by this thing, but there are certain Titan perks that make it one shot body shot. That's all I'm saying, okay? Don't look into it. Just forget I said that. But it's very good. It's very easy to use. It's a lot of fun. And it is incredible at shutting down supers. Pretty much, if anyone on your team has put a bullet into a super, this will finish them off with the headshot. No problem. It's a lot of fun. It's very easy to use. And it's coming in the number 15 slot. Now in the number 14 slot, we have an old favorite, the Tractor Cannon. This one is always this high up on the list. It has a huge boost to your DPS. It does incredible work in PvP. It's just a lot of fun. It's a classic, right? It's one of these exotics that whenever you don't know what to use, you can always fall back on the Tractor Cannon, regardless of where you are in Destiny and you are either helping out your team or doing really well for yourself. It's got an amazing catalyst and just a lot of fun. So Tractor Cannon, number 14 slot. The next weapon on this list is going to be the best exotic bow in the game, the Lemon Arc or the Lay Monarch if you're an absolute normie. But it has an exotic perk called the Poison Arrows. Arrows fired quickly after a full draw become poison arrows. Persistent hits with poison arrows spread poison to nearby enemies. Essentially, you hit someone in the face very quickly, they become a poison cloud, and it will make them bleed out. It's a lot of fun. Under Iron Burden, like if your enemies are, it can one-shot. It very nearly one-shots enemies with low resilience. It's a ton of fun. It's very effective in pretty much every activity. You know, I kind of hit on bows a little bit earlier, not being very effective. I'd say this is like the one exception to that rule. It's a lot of fun. It's very good. It's very easy to use. And yeah, it's coming in the number 13 slot. Now in the number 12 slot, we have another new exotic, the Thorn. Well, I guess it's not technically new, but returning exotic nonetheless. Its perk is new, though. It is called Mark of the Devourer. Rounds pierce targets and deal damage over time. Kills with this weapon leave behind remnants, and what it doesn't say is whenever you pick up those remnants, it makes this hand cannon absolutely broken. I love the rework on this exotic perk. In fact, I did an entire video on that fact. It is very important. It shows how Bungie has grown immensely as a developer since Destiny 1, and essentially they took the brokenness of it in vanilla Destiny 1, and they didn't get rid of it. They didn't just yeet it out of a window. They took that and they made it its exotic perk. It is an amazing fix. It's an amazing change. It doesn't feel too crazy. The recoil could be adjusted just a little bit. It's a bit crazy at times, but it's very powerful. It's a lot of fun to use. There's lore tied into it, an insane amount of lore tied into it. It fits very well in the current meta, and it's a lot of fun, so it's going in here on the list. In the number 11 slot, we have a fan favorite, probably the second most iconic exotic in the entirety of Destiny, the Ace of Spades exotic hand cannon. Now, it's a bit hard to get going. Admittedly, it doesn't have the best base time to kill, but whenever you get a single kill, you proc Memento Mori, you're essentially a freight train, and you're not going anywhere anytime soon. You can just roll through people. It's essentially a perk that makes it easier to proc the perk again. And every time, it's just so good, right? Like, you can just keep going and going and going and going. You can reload. You can wait an infinite amount of time. This gun's just so good. Plus, it has like 12 exotic perks, right? It has Third Eye, it has Kill Clip, it has Outlaw, it has Firefly. You could go on all day. This thing has the most perks out of any exotic in the game, out of any weapon in the game. It's crazy, it's fun, it's effective, it's cool, and it's coming in the number 11 slot. And I actually have a little replica of it right there. You can barely see it, but I love that thing. That's my replica. All right, number 10, the last word. Its exotic perk returning from Destiny 1, Fan Fire. This weapon can be fired quickly and continuously, faster reload, and increased accuracy on successive hip fire damage. What can I say? It is the classic last word, and in my opinion, it actually feels better in Destiny 2. The hip fire in Destiny 1 was kind of hit or miss. You had to learn it, right? It was very specific. In Destiny 2, it's just so easy to get going, right? Like, I feel like it pulls two enemies, like the aim assist is crazy on it or something. It's a lot of fun. It's very effective. It has an insane time to kill. It's very competitive in the Crucible, and the lore behind it's cool. So it's going in the number 10 slot. Now in the number 9 slot, we have the Thunderlord. They did nerf this thing 21% against bosses in PvE, so it fell down a little bit, but it's still incredibly powerful, and it's very versatile. You can use this thing in the Crucible, do very well. You can use this thing in PvE, do very well, and you can use this thing in Gambit and do very well. It's a lot of fun. It did get nerfed, unfortunately, but it's still very good, so it's coming in the number 9 slot. Now in the number 8 slot, we have the Legend of Accuracy. It, on the other hand, it got a huge buff, making it even crazier than before, which I didn't think was possible. It's pretty good in everything. You know, you can solo Gorgeth with this thing in the Shattered Throne. It's crazy, man. If you're not using the Legend of Accuracy, if it's not part of your regular loadout, I don't know what to tell you. Get the Catalyst, max this thing out, and just let it do the work for you. It's very fun. It's very fun. Now in the number 7 slot, we have the Yatun, or as I like to call it, the replacement of the Telesto. Remember how I said the Telesto gave me nightmares? Those sounds have been replaced by giant floating fireballs flying directly at my face. The Yatun has a perk. It has a perk. It has a very good perk called Charge Shot. You hold down the trigger to charge up a tracking shot that explodes and burns on impact. Translation, this thing will kill anything you shoot it at, and it will shut down supers in 2 shots, and it is very good in PvE, and just use it. You know, I feel really bad saying that. It's just good. Just use it. Yatun, it explains it by itself. And if you pronounce it any other way, by the way, you're wrong. It's Yatun. Sorry. That's the way it is. Now in the number 6 slot, we have the Sleeper Simulant. It got a huge nerf to ammo capacity. I think it can only carry like 9 ammo rounds now. It's unfortunate. It used to be a fan favorite. I think it was actually tied for 1st place last time. It's falling down to 6th place. It's still pretty good, but you need that ammo, you know? There's so many guns in the game that get so much ammo and can do so much damage. It was a bad nerf. We need to stop nerfing these things. Bungie, please. Please, Bungie, please. Now, we have reached the top 5 best exotics, in my opinion, in the game right now. In the number 5 slot, we have the Lord of Wolves. Who would have seen that coming, right? I ranked this thing like way low last time. It's so good. This is how you buff an exotic. Stop nerfing Sleeper. Make other shit like this. You can literally kill Gambit Prime bosses on phase 2 with this thing. It is crazy. You do so much damage. You get so much ammo. It's very easy to use in Crucible and PvE and Gambit and literally everything. It's insane. And I think the reason I ranked it up this high, in addition to it just being fucking amazing, is because it is such like a comeback story, right? It was such a terrible exotic, returning from Destiny 1, where it was also a terrible exotic, and now it's good. Now it's crazy good. So use this thing, have a lot of fun with it, and yeah, Lord of Wolves. Now in the number 4 slot, we have the Whisper of the Worm. It got nerfed from 21 ammo reserves to 9. What? Why? I feel bad, like legitimately feel bad putting it up this high on the list. I wanted to put it lower, but I can't, you know, like it has infinite ammo, it has amazing DPS, but it's very selective now, right? Like there's only very, very specific pieces of content you can use this thing for. Because if you use it in regular, like, gameplay, you're running out of ammo immediately. There's no way you can keep that going. It's good. Speedrunning strikes, Nightfalls, Scourge of the Past final boss. That's pretty much it. And on the first 2, strikes, and I didn't mean to flip you off, but I just did. But on strikes and Nightfalls, you know, a lot of the times you're going to be shooting bosses and stuff, and they're going to be dead before you can even hit your 3rd shot. So you're not going to be getting your ammo back. Bungie nerfed this one way too hard. Bring it up to 15 shots in the mag, maybe 16, not in the mag, excuse me, in reserves. It would be perfect. Whatever. It needs to be changed. Fix it, please. 3rd spot for this video, gonna blow a lot of people's minds, the Prospector. There was a point in time, I believe, where this was the very worst exotic that I ranked in Destiny 2. Maybe it was the 2nd worst, I really can't remember, but this thing, once again, just like the Lord of Wolves, has come such a crazy weight. It has an amazing catalyst that makes you carry more ammo. Very useful. You can one-phase Riven. I'm pretty sure you can one-phase every boss except for Insurrection Prime with it, if I'm not mistaken. It's so good. It's so good. And finally, we have an arc heavy weapon that does crazy damage. You know, it's very useful. For a long time there before the Thunderlord, you would run arc strikes and it's like, well, what the hell do we use? No one knew. Now we know. Prospector. It's super good. It's super fun. It's very effective. And it's coming in the number 3 slot. Now in the number 2 slot, we have the Wardcliff Coil. It was just given a 115% damage buff in PvE. Blew it out of the water. Was the craziest gun in the game. This is like what you use for Reckoning. Unfortunately, it just got nerfed by 25%, but it still has a huge chunk of that buff left. Like, it's still a lot more powerful than it used to be. You don't have to reload it because you run over heavy bricks and it automatically does it for you. Unfortunately, sometimes you kill yourself, which is a negative, but, you know, get good. if you're running the Reckoning, use this thing, like, period. If you're doing activities like the Reckoning, like Gambit Prime or something, use this thing. A lot of times in raids, Valcor, use this thing, right? Like, it's super good. It's super easy to use. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy. It fulfills that power fantasy. And I love this thing. I love this thing so much. It's coming in the number 2 slot in this video. And then finally, the best exotic in the game, in my opinion, the 1000 Voices. It just got a 25% PvE damage buff. It is... I didn't even need that, but it got it anyways. It does some of the highest damage in the game out of any exotic. It is incredibly easy to use at any range. You point and shoot. It's hard to kill yourself with it, which is, you know, obviously puts it above the word cliff. You get a ton of ammo. You pretty much never run out. And it is good in quite literally everything. Everything. Crucible, perfect. One of the best. You know, Gambit, one of the best. Raids, never take this thing off. It's amazing. It looks incredible. It looks absolutely amazing. One of my favorite looking exotics in the game. The lore behind it is amazing as well. It's definitely my favorite raid exotic of all time. It's very powerful. It beats anything in Destiny 1 in my opinion. And yeah, 1000 Voices, best exotic in the game. So that is going to be my entire list. All 50 exotics. 50 exotic weapons. Take that in for a second. That's incredible. That's crazy that we have that many. They're all ranked now. Let me know what you guys think of my list down in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know why or why not. A big part of these videos, like I said at the beginning, is the discussion. That is so important to me. I love interacting with you guys. I love giving feedback to Bungie. So if you want to see more of these videos, let me know down in the comment section below. I hope you guys did enjoy this. That's rude. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like rating and to share it with your friends. If you were interested in watching either of the 2 videos on screen, you can click their respective annotations to be taken in them. If you're brand new to my channel, make sure to the giant version of my logo on screen to be subscribed to my awesome Destiny 2 videos and live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I'll see you in my next video.